You've obviously got your generator on board. We'll start with some of the sort of general bits main bits you need to check on your daily basis or when you're using it is obviously over on the far side. Coming out this side, we've also got our dipstick. So it's well worth carrying a bottle of 530 semi-synthetic oil on board. They work hard. They're small engines. They're going to be running for as long as you are spraying and stuff like that and washing out. So just make sure it's up to the minimum maximum mark on there, and that's fine. Fuel level, again, so this is your power supply for your machine. So we need to make sure, in theory, this should be sort of filled up with fuel at the beginning. If it's a big manhole or stuff like that, it's going to chew through fuel quite quickly. The worst thing that it's going to do is run out. Otherwise, you've got to reprime the system, get the generator running, because the machine will not work again until this is running. Trip switches located underneath the box here. Like I say, this doesn't need to be open. It should be able to be closed and then the plug plugged in, but we need to make sure they're all on, all showing red, means power's on. When we start the generator, obviously it will give us a reading up here, but that would just be if we're doing some fault finding and stuff like that. They're noisy and they're choke thirsty. It does have a pull start if the battery's been flat, so if you don't use it for a while, obviously, but you will get a workout trying to get it started with a pull start. Chokes up the top, choke on, make sure your fuel's on the fuel tap underneath the tank, and then it's just a case of noisy bit, 3-phase power leads, hopefully, and then obviously you come over to the machine. So every time you finish with the machine, it's going to be taken apart, so there's a few things that we've got to put together first thing in the morning. So whoever's on this side of it, if they just get on with the machine side, while you guys know what you're doing, you guys know what you're doing down the hole and everything like that. So if you guys sort of carry on with that and one person does this, you only need one person setting it up. He comes in, he gets the generator running, he gets the machine set up, gets it all working. You guys are pretty much ready to go, so are they. Parts that I take out at the end of the day, and I always advise they get taken out. It just makes it easier for washing. One part being our mixing shaft, and the other part being our rotor, which is the part that goes with our stator that's fixed on the machine to help with the pumping, and this pumps it down the lines. So to fit this, just gotta go down the inside our mixing chamber, closed. The reason the power cable's disconnected is it isolates the machine, so it won't work at all with that removed. So we put that back on once we're all tipped back up and put together. Silicone spray. So you can use either silicone spray, fairy liquid, something like that. No grease or oil, yeah, because we're winding that into a bit of rubber. So give it a good coating, and then this has to go. I'm going to stand around this side, down into here. You can see there's like a rubber piece in the bottom, and we just got to wind it in. Start in by hand. You find your tool for putting into the rotor, and then obviously you get the handle to wind it in. So pop that on. Take your bar out. That goes back in your slot on your machine. Mixing shaft, that's got a slot to receive that, obviously down the bottom. Pop that in so it's lined up. You're not aiming to stop it in the same position as this, because obviously we've got to get that into that. Once it's in there, obviously if I put that in there now, that one's currently pointing in that angle. So obviously we've just got to get them to line up when we bring it over. If anywhere where you're going to pinch your hands, this is going to be the point. So obviously we want to take care, everything like that. So we bring it back over. We've got one hand holding it. We line that back up so we know it's in line. bring that down and it should locate like that. If you're getting stuck, you're either not wound down far enough or it's not lined up. Open it up, move it around, then put it down. Don't try and keep banging it down while you got your hand in there moving the bar about. It should all come together nicely. So, handle open and make sure it's locked. As you see there, that's not massively tight. There's still a bit of play there. If you want to adjust it, because you feel you want it a bit tighter, you can screw it in or out, but it doesn't need to be that's tight enough. Yeah, don't need to be ramming it to close it. All it's doing is holding this all closed when it's pumping. So if we pop our lead back on, like I say, first thing to check, if your machine won't work at all, but you've done all your setting up process, but why is it not working, make sure you put that on. I forget it, people forget it, or they've damaged that because they've left it down the side. If it is not plugged on properly, like one of these clips is broken, there's a chance obviously the machine won't work, because it's a bit of a safety feature. Power supply that you brought across earlier, obviously from your generator, it's located down the bottom here. Water supply that's coming from the bottom of our water butt is coming through to the other side underneath, which is here. Yeah. So we've got our power and we've got our water. The only other thing we'll need in a minute is obviously powder, and the three come together, and obviously we'll have a mix coming out the front. The powder wheel in here, it's a dry zone. So if it was pouring with rain today, my advice would be, is whoever's setting the machine up, the only switch you need on this side is that red one. Yeah, and you only switch that on pretty much once at the beginning. Otherwise that curtain would probably be brought back to about here to stop water getting into this part here. You get one of these in the kit, plasterboard saw, in the morning, whoever's setting the machine up, give it a good clean out, make sure this air pipe's nice and clean, because that's what's going to spray it, otherwise it's all just going to end up on your feet. Yeah, just squirt it out like a sausage, it'll all be on your toes. So, you've got that in there. These are the balls that we'll use later to wash our hoses out. Yeah, so there should always be a couple in here. There's a wire brush later on for cleaning again. And there's some other size spray caps, but I think we've found that 14mm is the right size for you guys with this product. Yeah, so if you want a bit more of a splattery finish, because you think you can get a finish with it, it might be worth dropping the nozzle size down, but so far we've found 14 works the best. Your water butt up, make sure you got water coming into the machine. We don't run off of, so that you've obviously got a pumped water supply on this unit, or say if you had a main supply, I would still run off my water butt. The reason being, if that gets turned off or that runs out of water, you've still got your own water supply for this machine. If there's no water, the machine doesn't work. Same as if there's no power, it doesn't work. And if it runs out of water, unfortunately, it's always too late that it will block up. So then you'll have a blockage to sort out and everything like that, and it's not nice. So it can go to number 1, or you push it in, and it will go to number 2. Yeah, it's for the phases, the directional phases on a 3-phase machine. If you always use that generator, this switch will always go the same way. To tell, there's a light on the front. If it's off, it means you're going the right way. If it's red, you've got your big red switch the wrong way. Yeah, so round the other way, if it comes on, goes off. If it's red, phase reverse. So basically everything will be trying to go the wrong way, the water pump, the main motor, everything like that. So that's as much as you should need that switch. If this light comes on again, red or amber, throughout the day, more than likely means you've tripped something out inside the box. That's your switched on, you've got your water supply, so now obviously you can run through and just make sure the machine works. So you've turned your power on, same as we had to do with the jet wash. We've got to bleed the water supply. Yeah, so if we've got a good head of water, we can open that valve. If it's not coming through on this machine here, we've got water off, automatic for when we're spraying so that everything goes quiet when we stop, or manual so it runs all the time. So this top switch here is just for water, but the only times you'll use it is set up and wash out and when you're spraying. The off button in the middle we don't use in the UK because we always run off the water butt. Okay, so we flick that round. That's primed my water system to that point. Now obviously I need to know what my dosing level is going to be when it comes to my product. Products do vary, but for this product I believe it's about 300 litres an hour. So we'll always start a little bit higher. So I'll start the machine at 400 and I'll bring it back down once we start adding products. So to test that, this one down the bottom here, so the only other thing this switch down here does is it turns our powder on and off so that it's not feeding all the time. So it's currently off. Or we can adjust our water level. So water plus basically means when I do this, make sure that's closed, it'll start bringing water through. As you can see at the minute, it's coming through at about 1,000 litres an hour. Yeah, so we're quickly going to run out and it's going to be far too wet. We adjust it using the tap down the bottom. So righty-tighty to bring it down. Lefty-loosey obviously increases it up through the flow tube. So normally you'll have enough hands to sort of squirt this about. So bring it around that way. $500 at the top of the float. And just bring it to around the 400 mark. Bring that up. We always go into our top port for water. Yeah. Reason being it gives it the most mixing time. So we've set our water level to 400. Push and twist to get our geeker on there. Now, we want to test this bit's working and our machine's working before we use it today. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, just put a bit of water in there. If we press go, it will spit some water. Hopefully it should spit some water out the bottom of it. So we're going to leave our powder off because we've got a bit of powder in here and we don't want it coming in yet. So we leave that switched off. So it should be a case now, we flick that towards on. Yeah. So it's working. We come back to our water supply. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can just notice this dropped a little bit, so I'm just going to take it back up to the 400 mark. Let that dribble out. That's on there. So now we can flip this over to auto, but we still need to wet our hoses and everything. So at the moment, we'll leave it as it is in that position. Make sure you're happy with the consistency. This product does change again though. So if you set it right here, by the time it comes through these hoses, it changes. Renders and other products like that, what comes out of here tends to come out the other end of the pipe. This stuff changes as it travels. So once you know the water setting for this product, get a marker pen and write it on the side of the machine. If it's 20 degrees today, which means down your manhole is 25, 30 degrees, you might need the product a little bit wetter to allow for obviously the curing and stuff like that times, so it doesn't accelerate too quickly on you. Same again, if it's a bit colder, I think 300 is probably as low as you can go. I haven't gone too far with the product. Like I say, you'll find that out a bit more on site. You'll find that out by when you're pumping and continuously pumping. This pressure gauge here wants to be sitting around 15. So between the first black line and the 20. Can go up to 20 probably at a push, sort of. That's the sort of, okay, I'll do it. Much more than that, and we're asking it to work a bit too hard. Yeah, so I know through that spinner machine and through the diesel, that product's quite thick and stuff like that. Whereas this, when it comes initially through the pump, it's still got its chemical reactions to do. So it will be different at the end, but you can still build it out a good set. So that's your test pipe. Your airline just comes with it. It's just to extend what you've got already. So we'll sit that there. You've got reducer for the front of the machine. That goes in on the front. All of these fittings should be closable, so he says, by hand. If they don't close, it means there's something behind this rubber seal at the back. Yeah, they all come out, they can all be cleaned. Might be something you want to put into a service schedule, but on a maintenance basis, jabbing it away at it's probably going to cause someone some harm. You can fish the seal out and then run round behind it, and hopefully you can get out whatever's in there. But it is a very thin layer, because there's a very thin tolerance to what is in and then what you've really got to crush to get it in, sort of thing. So even with that in there now, I know if I put that on there, I'm probably going to struggle to close it by hand. But we'll give it a good clean later. Okay, so I'm going to put that on there. Air connection. There is symbols on the machine sort of written everywhere for it. So air comes out the front here. Everything that's coming out comes out the front. We've just got our water going in on the side and our power coming on the other side. So we pop that on there as well. Yeah. So our main delivery pipe, I'm guessing, is that one down there. And I'm guessing that's our airline to go with. If someone could pass me up the female and the male end of that hose, we might need to roll it out a bit. The process of it then is we go on with the machine, but then we go on, off, on with that powder wheel. What that does is it starts it turning, stops it, and then does it again. It drops the first bit of powder in, gives it a second for the generator to sort of recover, and then starts dropping the gear in. So we have to be confident though. We have to switch the machine on, switch the powder on, off, on. If we literally switch it on, then stand around, there will be no water left in here, because 400 litres an hour isn't fast enough to feed that. That's 20 litres a minute, so if you then do the maths, it doesn't work out. So is that shut? Where do we put it? We'll go, turn that over there, on with the machine, on, off, on. Now this is the product that starts coming through. Nice and lumpy the first bit from what was left in the machine. So obviously we've got to bring that level down. That's about right for you guys. So now what we do is we flick the off button. We leave the powder on, we leave everything on. That's coming through that thick. Yeah, so that's quite thick really. But if you now let this stuff sit, it picks up really quickly. In theory, the wetter you can spray it, the smoother it will go on. The drier you spray it, the more lumpy and bumpy, the more you're going to have to do with it to smooth it out. So as long as it meets specifications, thickness of product is up to you guys. You'll play with them settings, you'll get used to them settings. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit because that's a little bit thick for today, I think. So go back on. Just going to bring it up a tiny little bit, 325, and turn it off. So I'm about 325 litres an hour now. So wipe that off. Make sure the end of your hose is clean. Obviously this hose has still got water in it, hence why it's down and then back up. I haven't just left it on the floor. The reason whoever's here, I'd advise they do this, whether it be 20 metres of hose on there, whatever, is you're here with the machine. So if there's an issue with it coming through the pipe or through the gun, you're here with the machine, you can turn it off. Yeah? Someone down there, they might not realise that the pressure's building up till it's too late. The quicker you deal with it, the quicker the problem gets resolved. So all I do is, because my powder's on, my water's on, Switch it on. Keeping an eye on the pressure gauge down the bottom there. Here it comes. There's my product through. So, gun, like I say, air pipe, which is this bit going in, is adjustable. Move it forwards, you'll get a slightly more splattery effect. Move it backwards, you'll have loads blobbing out the front on your feet if you move it too far back. Bumblebee is meant to be the nice sound. Just be wary, if you push it forwards, it can block the hole. So we tend to adjust slightly, get what we're happy with, and then that's it for the day. So, end off, gun on. So at this stage, I would normally connect my airline as well. So if someone could pass both of those ends up. One goes onto our test pipe extension. And then the other one goes onto the gun. It now means when I'm on the machine itself, if I switch it on and that valve's open, the machine's going to go and start spraying. If I want it to stop, I can switch it off here. The only thing I would do is, before you send it down a hole with someone, switch it off at the machine. When they're down there and they're comfortable and that's where they want to be and they're ready, all you do is you switch the machine back on, they start spraying, and then they can stop it and go as and when they need to, but you're not lowering this down to them face first with a build up of air pressure of 2 bar and obviously material behind it as well. Yeah, so machine on. Alright, so that is to the point where it's run through. We've run out of products. We've now got a soupy, slurry water in the pipe. What I like to do at this stage, and this is how I break down and wash my machine out. So, switch it off, which is the top right hand switch, is on or off. So I make sure I turn it off. All I'm going to do is make sure my light's off. So now when I open the gun, the machine won't go. Yeah. So gun off. Easiest bit to clean at the end of the day. You can take it all apart, chuck it in a bucket of water. Yeah. The hardest bit to ever clean out is your hose if you block it. So the next thing I wash out is my pipe so that I know it's clean. Stick it there. As I've done earlier on, I'll disconnect up there, I'll put a sponge ball into it, I'll run that through, I'll grab it, I'll run it through again, and I'm happy that it's washed through. Because I can wash out with this little pipe on the back. Yeah, so I can use this pipe for doing the rest of my washing. Fitting into there. Like, we're not under pumping pressures now, so obviously one ear is ample, so just closing the one side. Yeah, we put that back onto there with the sponge ball in it. We put our water back on to set up and wash out. That's on that side. I can't see, where's the end of that pot? Oh, thank you. And for good practice, take it back off at that point. Poke it in there, put that back on. Now this should be much cleaner water coming through now. There you go. Right, now, so what's left now is I've got a bit of powder left in here. I'm not going to pump it out. I'm going to clean it out through that bottom tray at the end. So I'm going to open that flap. I'm going to take this off, get in there, clean it all out so I know whoever uses it next, it's going to turn for it. Yeah? So all I need to clean is this part here. So to do that, I want my powder now turned off, so I don't want any more powder being loaded from here into here. And I just want to run this. The only thing I'm going to do is, because that hose is clean, I'm going to get it out of the way, a bit extra, just because that's what I want to do. Yeah, I'm going to unturn my tap. So my water setting then was on 325 for you spraying that product. So 300's there. Between that one and that next mark, 325 was where my float was for you guys today. If you think that's going off too quick and it's not failing, turn up a little bit more. So it's a little bit wetter when it goes on the wall. You could probably go down a little bit, but you want to then keep it moving. Okay, so powder's off, water's on, press go. As I said earlier today, obviously, if I disconnect this, I'll just show you what happens. The machine's dead. Yeah, so we've lost our water pump, we've lost everything. So fire in. That again needs rinsing off. Bit of silicone spray on it after, just stop it going rusty. Put your bar back. As you can see in here, it's a plastic chain neoprene, whatever they call it. It builds up around the sides, so it makes its own tunnel for the mixing shaft. So you see, it makes it fit the mixing shaft. So you can either pull it off, scrape it off, get a scraper. I prefer to try and scrape it off rather than try and pump it all through my little pipe. Like I say, try and keep the dry zone a dry zone as best you can. Same thing as you use this port here to obviously test your machine. Just make sure that will block up throughout the day. We've removed our cap from our bottom hole. This will be blocked up with products as you've used it throughout the day. Just make sure you clean that, as you need that when you're setting up in the morning. And make sure, obviously, this one, it shouldn't be blocked, but just make sure they're clear. Give them a good squirt through, make sure they're nice and clean. That's that. So going in on the bottom, because it really won't mix your product properly. 1 minute you'll have water coming through, the next minute you have dry powder coming out. So in there's now clean. So that, I'm happy with that. I'm happy that it's washed down to this point. Disconnect the test pipe. By this stage you would have flushed a fair amount of water through this, but just make sure it's definitely clear. If you're not happy, flip your motor back over. Plug that back on. Cleaning tool, ball, Straight into there. There we go. Put that on there. Second time through should just be water. Test pipe's now done. Outlet coupling. That's that bit. So obviously if it's got any hard material, that'll need cleaning out. That should just wash out though. Okay. And then make sure obviously that we're clearing there. You can see that we're built up. There's always going to be a small amount that's going to go in this tray. Hence why it's obviously been designed. So that, if I was going to use it again this afternoon or I was going to use it again tomorrow, I'd quite happily leave that bit of powder in there because I know I'm going to use it tomorrow and I know it's dry. That's it. It's done. If you're not the person using it, clean it. Drain that out, which I will do. So, I turned up today and I found this gun, which was used last time, and it was left together, cap on, air pipe in, everything like that. Take the cap off, because it means you're going to clean round here, yeah, and take the air pipe out. So I managed to free it off slightly this morning, but even now, if I leave that with that little bit of murky material in that hole, even though next time you know it's in the right place, it won't move again. So it's best to strip it down, give everything a good clean. The more you clean stuff, the easier it will be, basically.